The following podcast contains movie spoilers and mature content, including graphic descriptions of violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Opening Kill, the podcast that dives deep into the chilling world of horror films. Every Thursday, we explore a different movie, from cult classics to modern masterpieces, uncovering behind-the-scenes secrets, analyzing themes, and sharing fun facts about your favorite horror films. Join us as we chat with filmmakers and fellow horror film fans to celebrate the fear in cinema. And now, the hosts of Opening Kill, Michael Doran and Brian O'Connor.
Hi, Brian O'Connor. I'm Michael Duran. April Fools.
Hello, Michael Duran. I'm Brian O'Connor.
How we feeling?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been a good week. Saw some interesting films, and some not so interesting films. So we'll get into here in just a little bit. But welcome to episode 18 of Opening Kill, the podcast that is all things horror. We have a featured film every week that we dissect, break it down, and tell you whether we liked it or not, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we dive into some kills, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
All the good stuff you need in a horror flick.
Absolutely. Now, here's one that I saw that was not fantastic. Have you heard of the Neon Demon?
I've heard of it, and I've kind of stayed clear of it.
You should.
Yeah.
Stay far, far away.
Yeah.
All right. This came out in 2016. It was directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, who did the Pusher trilogy. He did Drive, Valhalla Rising. The film follows Jessie, who is a young and naive aspiring model played by Elle Fanning, who moves to L.A. to pursue her dream. Her natural beauty and innocence quickly makes her a rising star in the ruthless fashion industry. And so she draws admiration, envy, and obsession from people around her. But she also gets a lot more self-absorbed and arrogant about it as well. And she encounters this world that's just filled with, as you can imagine, predatory individuals,
Right.
cutthroat competition, and some very eerie supernatural undertones. It's got a very disturbing climax. It is one of the weirdest, most bizarre movies I think I've ever seen. They classify it as a psychological horror art film. Now, not all art films are bad. I don't want to make it sound like art films are bad. I've seen some decent ones, but this one, I just left it scratching my head going, what the hell? I really wanted to like it. Really wanted to like it. And it just was so out there. And it's got a great cast. In addition to Elle Fanning, Jenna Malone, who I love, Jenna Malone.
Right.
Keanu Reeves has a small part as a motel manager in a seedy Los Angeles motel. Visually, it's stunning. I mean, the cinematography, phenomenal.
Looks like they use a lot of really cool colors as well.
They do. And at first I thought maybe I need to go back and watch it again. And then I thought, you know what? That's 2 hours of my life that I'll never get
You're like,
back.
maybe I should, but I don't want to.
I definitely don't want to. So, the Neon Demon from 2016. Everything about it just screamed butter knife from the opening kill. And just some disgusting things in it. And it was like, whoa. Maybe I should have drank more before I watched it in order to enjoy it. I don't know.
That could have helped, potentially.
Yeah. I also went to the theater and saw Novocaine. Not a horror film, but it's
horror adjacent.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It's a comedy action thriller. Oh my God. Go see this movie. It was so funny.
The trailer looked really cool. It kind of reminded me of that superhero movie Kick-Ass. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Because Kick-Ass couldn't he's got some nerve damage to where he could just get the shit beat out of him and he was fine.
Yep.
It kind of gave me that vibes. And I love Kick-Ass. So.
Oh my God, this movie was so much fun. The kills in it were fun, funny and creative, and just the overall premise of the movie. If you're not familiar with it, this guy has a disorder where he doesn't feel pain.
Right.
And so all these things happen to him. And there's this part at the end. I'll give it away. He's got a broken arm and his bone sticking through, and he jams it into the throat of the bad guy at the very end and kills him with his own arm bone.
Oh, that's like in that Texas Chainsaw reboot for Netflix a couple years ago. He breaks some guy's arm, and then he jams the bone into another guy's face.
That's what this is.
Nice.
I was like, the whole theater is like, oh, I was like, oh my God. It was so much fun.
Hell yeah. I saw a really, really fun one, Borderline from this year. It's from director Jimmy Warden. He writes a lot of stuff. He wrote like Cocaine Bear and stuff like that. It stars Samara Weaving, Ray Nicholson, who is Jack Nicholson's child. So got a Nepo baby. But this one is so much fun. Oh my God. So it's about a super obsessive guy who's obsessed with this pop star who is Samara Weaving, and he just does not know when to stop pursuing her. It's very creepy in like a realistic way. While also the movie is just completely ridiculous. I thought it's one of my favorites I've seen in quite a while.
Okay.
Like, definitely check that one out.
Was that one on your scare preview list or not? I can't remember.
That was one of them at some point.
Yeah, way back when.
Yeah, because I love Samara Weaving. So
yeah. All of our scare previews we did like back in January. They're like, oh, they're coming out now.
We got
to go see all these movies now.
Yeah, no, this one is a lot of fun. And it's not super gory, so if you're not like into gore,
right,
this one is right up the alley for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
So here on the set, which you can't see because we're not a video podcast, we have a Funko Pop of Jason Voorhees, and we just added a Michael Myers one.
Yeah.
Those are my two favorite franchises. Friday the 13th is my absolute favorite franchise. And this past weekend, we celebrated the 40th anniversary of Friday the 13th, Part 4, A New Beginning. And FrightRags.com has designed 4 new commemorative T-shirts to celebrate this. All 4 designs are $33 a piece, so a little bit on the spendy side. The 1985 film made $22 million at the box office, making it the 6th most financially successful film in the franchise. It was directed by Danny Steinman, and Corey Feldman was in it.
Yep.
Tom Morga as Jason Voorhees, and actually it was a decent one. You get a little bit past 4, that's when things start getting a little bit silly. And
4 is my favorite.
4 is good.
Yeah,
4 is solid.
4 is my favorite one.
I just can't believe it's been 40 years since that came out.
That's kind of crazy.
It is. It really is. But as a Friday the 13th fanatic, I was very excited to see that. So I've ordered some T-shirts.
Oh, you got one?
I've got a couple of them coming. So do it in stages because like $33, a little bit steep for a podcast host.
Yeah,
so,
True that.
Yep.
Yeah, speaking of classics, though, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is looking to get rebooted, and a very interesting individual is wanting to be attached. So Glenn Powell. Do you know who Glenn Powell is?
Glenn Powell.
He was in the new Twisters movie.
Oh, right.
Big heartthrob. Everybody loves him. I think he was in Top Gun as well. But he is set to produce and star in the upcoming reboot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I'm like, who's he going to play?
Right?
How cool would it be if he's like Leatherface was just like a super handsome dude.
That would be amazing.
That'd just be such a random twist that they're like, Glenn is Leatherface.
Yep.
And we're going to have some fun with this.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are right around the corner from April Fool's Day. And to celebrate that, we are doing the film from 1986, April Fool's Day. Just the Facts. It was directed by Fred Walton, who actually retired from directing and lives just up the freeway from us in Portland.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stars Jay Baker, Deborah Foreman, who her first big film was Valley Girl in 1983, which is an iconic 80s movie. It was her first starring role. It was also Nicolas Cage's first starring role. They starred opposite each other in that.
Nice.
Ken Olant is in it, Griffin O'Neill, and Amy Steele, who is the final girl from Friday the 13th 2, and Thomas F. Wilson, who's a comedian. He's also known as playing Biff in the Back to the Future trilogy. He was in this as well. And ironically, this was released exactly 39 years ago today on March 27th, 1986. And earlier this year, it just got its 4K Blu-ray release, so it's in ultra high def. Made over $13 million at the box office on a budget of $5 million. Filmed in British Columbia, Canada. Has a runtime of 89 minutes. This was one of the earliest horror films that I saw as a kid in the 80s growing up.
Yeah.
And so I have a special place in my heart for this film. You do not, I know, but we'll get there. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss it.
We will talk about it.
We'll talk about it. This was a film, and as we get into it, you'll see where we're going here. It had a very significant plot twist at the end,
Right.
And it was at the time it was very polarizing. People,
I could see that.
either liked it or they were like, "What the hell just happened here?"
Right.
It's developed a cult following over the years, over the decades since it's been out. If you have not seen this film, again, it came out in 1986. It's a horror mystery slasher film. Follows a group of college friends who travel to a secluded island mansion for a weekend getaway, hosted by their friend Muffy St. John, played by Deborah Foreman. As the weekend progresses, members of the group start disappearing one by one, seemingly falling victim to a killer, and tensions rise, paranoia sets in, and pretty soon you don't know what's real and what's not. And again, as I just mentioned, the film is known for its clever take on the slasher genre and the ending that threw everybody off, for the most part.
Right. I think this is one where I would have liked it a lot more if I had seen it maybe like earlier into my horror movie watching days.
Sure.
But yeah, like as it is, kind of watching it now for the first time, I was just, I didn't care for the ending.
Right.
I'm one of the in the camp of did not like it.
Sure. And you're not alone. I mean, there were a lot of people who, did not like it and were like, I don't get this. And I'm a little pissed off that I just invested this much time and this is what happened. So, yeah.
I mean, there's enough weird shit in this movie that it keeps you entertained. Yeah. Like I was never bored. And there's a lot of stuff going on where you're just like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
So yeah, lots of funny moments.
There's some clever dialogue. I like the characters.
Some good dialogues.
I thought
the
performances were good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was solid there, and the problem is we don't see a lot of the kills.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we don't see any of the kills, and there's a reason for that. And we'll reveal that pretty soon. So this is a weekend that leads up to April Fool's Day. As I mentioned, it's a group of college friends that get onto this barge, which is going to take them across the lake or ocean or wherever they are.
It starts with that weird ass scene of like the kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this child who goes,
that's true.
Yeah. She like picks up this Jack in the Box.
It's a flashback birthday scene is what it is.
Yes, you can hear like people singing to her and like in the background. She picks it up and she cranks it. It pops up and it's the weirdest Jack in the Box I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the Rain Corps from Star Wars.
Right.
It's just like a little fucked up weird little alien thingy and she freaks out and then it cuts to the present. I was like, that started off and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a weird one.
Yeah. And I'll grant you that. It's odd.
It's weird.
And the characters are very strange too. So it does that. Yeah. And, they're going to this island mansion of one of the characters, Skip, his cousin, Muffy St. John. And Muffy has this flashback and it's an old Jack in the Box, as you mentioned. And she received the toy at a childhood birthday party. Now, her friends, meanwhile, joke around on the pier and they're waiting for the ferry. I said barge. It was a ferry, not a barge. And en route to the island, they're college kids.
They're doing the weirdest shit. Like
they are.
Two of the boys are like playing this fun game called throw a knife into the floor. Like that's all. That's all
a fun game.
Yeah, it's my favorite childhood game. Right next to like illegal fireworks. Those were my two favorites. And then there's one guy is walking around with like a porno mag that has a goddamn hole in it. Yeah, that was bizarre.
There is that.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, well, you're just waving that around willy nilly.
So they're throwing the knife around, and one of the guys who's supposed to be catching it takes it in the gut.
Yeah.
And then falls overboard, and everybody loses their shit.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, our friend died.
And now he's in the water. We don't even know where he is. So everybody's freaking out. The guy who threw the knife dives in after him, and they bring him up, and they find out it was a prank.
What
It
classic
wasn't-
pranks.
Yeah, what a great thing to do to your friends, right?
yeah.
Scare the shit out
We
of them
love
like that.
pretending to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it when my friends do that.
So they bring him up, and they're all pissed at him now because it was a prank and,
Yeah.
and all this.
And we also meet adult Muffy, and this interaction with this one guy is so bizarre. Like he's got all the like muff diving puns.
Yeah. That's right. There's plenty of those.
Plenty of those.
Plenty of
He
those.
just had those ready to roll.
Yeah. So they the antics continue. They're joking around. There's a lot of this is totally 80s type, sexploitation type
Oh, for sure.
humor and all this. And so now the boat gets closer to the island. They're coming up on the dock, and one of the deckhands jumps into the water. His name is Buck, and he is played by Mike Nomad. And he jumps in the water because he's going to, he was playing around. And so the captain's like, get out of the water. He's like, no, I got it. I'll take the rope and throw it
I
over
don't
the
know
dock.
what he was doing down there.
Don't know. But what happens is the ferry,
Crushes him against the dock.
Yeah, and he goes under, and then he pops back up, and the side of his face is totally.
His eyes popped out.
Oh, I know. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, when he came up, I was like, wait, how did that not kill him?
Right. It should have.
Like, that should have just crushed him into itsy bitsy goo.
So they get him out of the water, and then the sheriff is on the island, and conveniently he's got his speedboat, and so they get the kid into the speedboat, and the sheriff takes him, and
I love when you just have a speedboat ready to go. Like, that's one of those things. My wife and I were watching a James Bond movie, and I don't like James Bond movies, and I was complaining about how there's always a speedboat or a jet ski just ready to go. And she's like, maybe you just don't like spy movies because that's just a spy movie thing. I'm like, it's probable.
Did she watch this with you?
No.
She didn't. Okay.
No, I watched this in little chunks late at night when everyone was sleeping.
God dang. I had to do that with the Centipede movies, human centipede movies. Most disgusting movies ever produced on the planet in the history of all cinema. And and we're getting off topic here, but literally 10-minute chunks, and I had to turn away, and it took me a week to watch. And I didn't stop at one. I had to watch the other two.
Well, of course.
Same thing. It was every
God
10
hates
minutes.
a quitter.
So they get to the island, and they get the kid off in the speedboat. He's on his way back to the mainland at this point. Turns out that Muffy has set up a bunch of pranks throughout the mansion.
Dude.
Little things like whoopee cushions and dribble glasses. And
my favorite was the chair that just collapses and sends the guy rolling off.
Yeah.
And then the one guy has an exploding cigar.
Yep.
There's this one that was dark. It was just needles from heroin.
That's it. Yeah, that was another one. It was some very disturbing things in there. And there was also an audio tape of a baby crying in somebody's room.
And they're just trying to find it. What is happening?
Yep. Yeah. So, in spite of this, everybody is still having a good time and basically, having a party on this island. And then we get to this.
The opening kill.
So, when we talk about a kill here, we have to, I guess, kind of preface this by saying it's a kill, or was it?
Right.
Right?
It's kind of like Krampus.
A little bit. So Skip is the first one. He's played by Griffin O'Neill, and he goes missing 37 minutes and 35 seconds into this. And you don't see this kill. All you see is him down in the boathouse.
This made me laugh so damn hard.
Did it really?
Because when you find his body, there's a couple who's about to start banging in the boathouse.
Yeah.
But then the girl looks behind her, and then she just sees him
he's
drifting in the ocean.
They're on this. Yeah, we'll get to that here in a second because all you see is a dark figure because he's in silhouette in this boathouse.
Yeah.
And you see a figure come up and grab him from behind, and then it cuts
right
back to the house.
Yeah.
Well, they realize he's missing the last day or the next day. And so two of the friends, a guy and a girl, boyfriend, girlfriend, they go down to the boathouse and they're banging each other. And they're on this deck with wooden slats, but there's space in between the slats. And if you look down, you can see the water underneath. And that's where they see the body, the face floating by, and they both freak out.
It's so stupid. I died laughing. I was like, I kind of love that. But I mean, yeah, as far as a kill, it's got to get the old butter knife.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is a butter knife. I would say most every kill in here is a butter knife.
Yeah.
For the most part. And the guy who got his face crushed in, he didn't die, so he's not a kill. Otherwise, that would have
That's the coolest one.
That's the coolest one here. But
I did make a note when I saw that. I was like, how did that not kill Buck?
Right, right. The weekend progresses and
More pranks are happening.
Exactly.
And this is my favorite moment in the movie when it's just like it's one of the random nights and one of the guys is like about to jerk off. But he sits in one of those chairs that just collapses. So as he's about to start, he just fucking falls backwards.
So these chairs, it happens a couple of times in the movie. The first one happened to Thomas F. Wilson, Arch, the character he plays, and the back legs fold and send you tumbling backwards. And then they go back into place and the chair sits right back up, which was actually kind of a cool little,
it's funny.
Little thing.
It's great.
So 2 more people go missing. That would be Arch and Nan, and they go missing. And then during a search for the pair, a girl by the name of Nikki, who is played by Deborah Goodrich, who has been in some other things too, she falls into the island's well. So this is kind of an interesting scene because they're out there, they see this well, they're going to get some water, and it's literally a well, and it's a circular well, and there's a ladder, rungs, metal rungs that go down. So she decides to drop down into the well. One of the rungs breaks or something, or she loses her balance. She falls into this water. And actually, fun fact, she actually got an ear infection or some kind of infection because the water was so nasty.
Nice.
Yeah. So this did not bode well for her. But as her character is, at the bottom of the well, she finds the severed heads of Skip and Arch, along with the dead body of Nan.
Oh, speaking of Arch, we missed his kill because this one drove me nuts because Arch is just chilling in the woods, walking around. And there's a moment where there's a snake on the ground right by his feet, and he just keeps walking right by it, and the snake's getting pissed off. And I'm just like, look down.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Oh my God, he never does. And so then he gets he walks into a trap.
It's a booby trap.
Yeah, that pulls him upside down.
Yeah, it's a rope that
hangs
wraps around his leg and jerks him up, and so he's hanging upside down.
And then the snake's just kind of lunging at him.
That was pretty. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of snakes.
Oh,
so
hell no.
This actually gave me a little bit of anxiety watching this.
This is the most I guess scariest scene because it's just look, dude. He's so close to the snake.
Yep.
And
then again, you see a dark figure come into the scene, and you see Arch looking up at him, hanging upside down. And then we cut to another scene before we see anything else. So that's
how Arch died.
That is how Arch died. He was decapitated again, like every single kill, not seen on screen here.
Yeah.
Nan, same thing, not seen. She goes away. And then so the rest of the group, those who are left now, discover the phone lines are dead. There's no way they can get off the island because the boat's not going to come back till Monday.
Right.
So they're stuck there and no phone lines. And remember, 1986, no cell phones, nothing, no internet, nothing like that. So this is old school.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell they're supposed to survive.
Right.
And then I don't remember when it was exactly. It's just one of these random nights. These two are having sex in the room though.
Yeah.
But the way their bodies are laid out is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
They look like a spider.
They do.
It was the dumbest thing. It was just what is happening?
I know. I laughed at this too.
What's that position called?
I don't think they've named it yet.
I don't think it's possible.
I don't think it is either. Yeah.
No, it's very silly stuff.
And the bed is making so much noise. It is like the squeakiest bed spring ever. And it's, they can hear it in the next room. And
then and there's this one character, his name's Chaz. He's got the sickest fit ever. Homie is rocking a sweater vest and just a deep V-neck t-shirt under that with some pajama pants and then a long trench coat. And I definitely was like, I appreciate your fashion sense, Chaz.
Definitely. He ends up getting castrated.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about it before this
So
happens.
that's what happens. So the girl he's with gets up. It's Nikki, and she's kind of this total 80s kind of a bitch, kind of this really like very high on herself and down on other people. And you know, they get up and she leaves the room, and
Right.
and then you see the another something come out of this dark figure, and then it cuts away again. So Chaz is kill number 4, castrated again. What? Not seen.
But like his body's just laying there with his hands over his junk.
But here's the deal: there's not any blood to be seen at this point.
No.
If that would have really been a thing, there would be blood all
Everywhere.
over the sheet, everywhere.
Yeah.
So Nikki comes back into the room and sits down next to him, and she's starting to get dressed, and she's talking to him, and she's getting more annoyed because she's already pissed at him, and now she's annoyed because he's not responding.
Right. He's just laying there with his hands over his junk, and eventually she just gets pissed off and like moves his hand, and then you
Right.
just see the smallest little like quarter size hole in the crotch, a little bit of blood.
That's the key word. Little bit of blood.
Yeah.
Keywords, I should say. Little bit of blood. This should be a gusher.
I would assume. I've
I mean,
never
every other-
witnessed a castration, but
Well, not in real life, but every other horror film with a castration, you got blood going all over the place. And
yeah, it's like Old Faithful just spraying everywhere.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what it is. It's Old Faithful.
Yeah. People
Yeah.
come from far and wide to see it blow.
Not this time, though. So Nikki screams, and then we see the dark figure come into the room again, or whatever. And now Nikki is the next one to get killed. Again, not
Doesn't even
seen.
say like, yeah, you don't even, I don't think you even see a body or
Nope.
anything later, so no clue how she dies.
No, you don't. You do not. And then Harvey.
Oh, Harvey.
Poor Harvey. Harvey is played by Jay Baker, and he's the outsider in this film. He's friends, but he's not like part of the group, so to speak.
Right.
He's on the outside looking in. So they really didn't include him into a lot of things.
He's like Rudolph. They didn't let him play the reindeer games.
Exactly what it is. And so he ends up dying too. He's the one that got the exploding cigar prank pulled on him because he was stealing cigars.
Yeah.
And then he lit one up and it blew up in his face. And
Well, that's what he gets for smoking in the house.
yeah,
That's a nice house.
it is a nice house.
It's like if you're going to smoke, make sure it's like in a trailer or something.
And then we see him just hanging in a noose from the bedroom. So he's been hung. So that was kill number 6. And again, not seen. We don't know what's going on. We just know he's dead. And so that only leaves a couple of characters left. That leaves Rob, played by Ken Olant. And I know him from an episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation.
Okay.
So, and I've seen him in a couple of other things, but I saw him right away.
Is he an alien in Star Trek?
No, he's not. He's a human. He was rumored to be the son of Jean-Luc Picard, but he wasn't. It turns out he actually was not the son, but for a while we thought he was the son of Captain Picard, but he wasn't in that episode. So
My.
I know, right? And then the other person left at this point is Kit, played by Amy Steele, one of my favorite final girls, Friday the 13th, Part 2 final girl. And so they're running around now because everybody's gone, everybody's dead.
And Muffy's also alive.
Muffy is alive still as well, the host who gets very weird in the middle of
She's
this
the
film.
host with the most,
Yeah.
and she is very bizarre.
And they find out that Muffy has a twin sister, Buffy.
This made my eyes roll so far into my head, I gave myself a migraine. Because you're telling me their parents named her Buffy and Muffy?
Yeah, right? Right?
Get out of here.
I know. It was kind of strange.
I maybe even chortled a little bit. When,
Did you
like,
chortle?
I could have, because I was like,
Okay,
just
all right.
absolutely flabbergasted
Yeah.
at
So-
the Muffy Buffy combo.
And the thing is, Buffy, the twin sister, is apparently violently insane.
Yeah, she's crazy.
They found, so Kit and Rob, are the ones that discover this. They find, the papers and everything, the story, whatever. They learn about Buffy, quote unquote, and she had escaped from this asylum, and so now they understand that, oh my God, this
It never was Muffy.
It was never
It's been
Muffy.
Buffy the whole time.
And they discover Muffy's severed head down in the basement. So now they're freaking out because they've got the violently insane twin sister Buffy masquerading as Muffy, and now they think, okay, she's the one that's bumping everybody off here.
And you told me before I watched this movie that there's like a big twist, and like for a second I was like, this can't be it, because like this has been done many times before.
Right.
So
oh no,
this
but
isn't
wait,
it.
there's more.
There's more.
So Buffy is chasing them with a curved butcher's knife, and the couple, Kit and Rob, they get separated. Kit gets away. She gets into the living room, and she finds everybody, all of her friends, just sitting there in tableau.
Yeah.
In this parlor.
And they don't even like acknowledge her. They're just like, it's like frozen in a moment.
Right.
And everything's super bright in there. Like the lighting is super crazy. And I was very confused when this happened.
And one of them's like just reading a magazine.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking.
Yeah.
It's just dead silent. And all the friends that were supposedly murdered are just sitting there. All is well in the world now.
Very peaceful.
Very peaceful. In the meantime, Rob gets trapped in a closet, and the guy who, from the beginning, the deckhand, Buck, he shows up in the closet or the room he's in all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And now Rob starts screaming like a little girl.
I think he kicks Buck in the balls.
Something, yeah.
And like Buck actually like takes, and this is when you're like, no, like none of this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Because Buck peels the wound off his face.
Yeah.
And then puts it on
his
face and like tries to kiss him.
Something he does, he does. It's like this, it's a rubber prosthetic type thing that he had been wearing. Now, so we know that now all of a sudden, okay, well, this shit, nothing that we thought happened really happened. And he's screaming, and then he starts to kind of calm down. And then Buck unlocks the door. There's like a little slide lock at the top, and he unlocks it, and Rob goes tumbling out, and he races into the room and sees everybody and sitting there.
Buck had like, what was not Buck? What was going through this guy's mind? Like, you're in this closet, trapped in it with a man who's trying to kiss you,
right?
Who just gave you his appliance. Face appliance thing.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been the weirdest little situation to find yourself in.
I know.
Like, you're running for your life, and then this happens, and then you tumble out of a door, and
Well, so this was all a big prank.
It was an LOL, April Fool's, JK joke.
So it was a dress rehearsal. Muffy then tells the group that what she wants to do is turn the mansion into a resort, offering a weekend of the staged horror type things. So the house is going to become hers as an inheritance gift. But in order for her to get it, she has to prove to her father that she can afford it, that she can maintain it with the property taxes and all the expenses. So she comes up with this idea to turn it into this basically this getaway
amusement park almost.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that, because it never happens in movies. Like, these people are always like left these giant houses, and they never look into like the taxes and whether they can afford it. So I appreciated that this movie actually looked into that.
Yep,
I was
exactly.
Like, props for realism.
Well, I agree with that. She even had a friend who did special effects makeup, in Hollywood, and one of the characters in the thing. So each victim quote unquote agreed to kind of take part in all of this as things were, revealed to them. Everybody laughs about it, and then they break out the bottles of champagne. Few things though. There's a lot of things. I mean, we never know how far ahead of time the friends know about what's going on.
They never touch on that.
So Buck, who goes into the water, how in the hell would he have applied that prosthetic thing to his face while underwater and doing? I mean, there's a few loose ends here that just don't make sense to me.
You never heard of underwater super glue?
No.
Come on, dude.
No.
It's all the rage.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
is that
it's
what
all
they did?
the rage. Yep.
Yeah,
it was really big in the 80s.
Once you find out that this was all staged, that it was, a dress rehearsal, you go back through it and go, well, now, wait a minute. who knew what and when? And
Right.
I mean, did they
Well,
all
there's
agree?
things where like they're alone, yet they're acting scared.
Right.
Like, who are they performing for?
Yeah.
Us,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's this is one of my biggest pet peeves in a movie is the none of it was real twist.
The dream
like that,
thing, or this. Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, it was in her head the whole time. Like there's no
Right.
ghost. Like I hate that shit.
Now, it's not done yet. There's one more scene that is very bizarre, and I still am not really sure after all these years, not really sure what
there's
it means.
the party scene too.
Well,
which
yeah.
is weird because they have like all the decapitated heads.
Oh my God.
And they're
And
just like pouring booze down their throats.
I think Thomas F. Wilson at one point starts making out with his head.
Oh, and there's like this one, I forgot to talk about it. I wanted this portrait in the house. It's like a Scooby-Doo thing where it doesn't have
Yeah.
the eyes in it.
Right.
So you can just see like eyes moving behind it. And it looks like the love child of Martin Van Buren and Andrew Jackson. Like,
Yeah.
I bet you didn't expect some presidential references in this episode, but I got them.
You got him. Yeah.
That's
you got
what
him.
I thought when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's their bastard love child.
So the very end of this, Muffy goes to her room and she finds a present that's on her bed. It's been
Yeah.
wrapped up. So she unwraps it, and it's a Jack in the Box. And remember, we already saw a Jack in the Box
Yeah.
in a flashback birthday scene from her
Scary
childhood.
stuff.
So she turns the handle very slowly. When Jack finally pops out, Nan, one of the characters who went missing, who knew Muffy from acting class, just pops out of nowhere behind her and slits her throat with a razor. Muffy starts screaming bloody murder and then realizes that, first of all, she's not really bleeding, and
Right.
that the trick razor was used with stage blood.
Yeah.
And then Nan, it almost looks like they're lesbians in a way, because Nan comes up and
That would have
hugs
made
her
the
and-
movie better.
It would have.
Could have gotten some good representation.
Well, it didn't though.
We didn't. But we do get a
so-
winking Jack in the Box.
and that's what it is. Yeah,
Oh,
the
I-
Jack in the Box laying on its side winks,
Yeah.
and that's the end of the movie. So
I don't know why Nan did that. Like,
know,
what was the point of that?
I don't know what the point was, and I don't.
Maybe they
understand
are
it.
just like, that's their foreplay. Like,
Maybe.
that could
Maybe.
be hot, I guess.
Yeah.
Get some fake blood flowing.
Jeez. Yeah. That the
I
ending.
can't get off unless you pretend to slit my throat.
The ending never really made sense to me. So I don't know, but with the final kill, which was Muffy's decapitated head that they found, and again, not seeing that, brought the kill total to 7, but it resorts to 0 once we find out that there was really nothing there. So my favorite character was Arch, played by Thomas F. Wilson. I just thought he was the goofball, and I've always been a big fan of him anyway.
Right.
My favorite scene was the deckhand getting his face sliced off, by the ferry. And I don't have a favorite kill because we didn't see any kills, and as it turns out, there really were no kills.
Right. My favorite character is Chaz, just because I loved his outfit, and he kind of looked like, Timothy Chalamet playing Bob Dylan.
Oh yeah,
He looked
yeah.
just like that.
Yeah.
Like not Bob Dylan or Timothy, but them together.
Yeah.
And then my favorite scene is the guy who falls while he's trying to masturbate. Easy choice there. And then my favorite kill is, I know it's not a kill, but it's got the only good effect. So I'm going to say Buck,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even though he didn't die.
Right.
But he did get crushed by a boat, so he should be dead.
He should be dead. Absolutely. There was a scene in the middle of this too that I want to talk about. The girls are all in the kitchen just being girls.
Oh
and
my God,
they're
this
reading
is so good.
So they're reading a Cosmopolitan magazine. There's a questionnaire in the magazine. And while the crew was actually lighting this scene, the girls were just kind of sitting around, and they had this huge conversation which caught the attention of Fred Walton, the director. And a few days later, Walton handed Deborah Goodrich, who played Nikki, handed her the magazine, and also gave her, a new set of questions,
Right.
and asked the actresses to improvise a scene. And the scene you see in the film was totally 100% improvisation. They I thought
can't
that was
believe
really cool.
I forgot about this scene, and
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that because it's got a great phrase for anal. They call it anal entry.
Yeah.
And because they're talking about like, which would you rather do?
Right.
Oh my God.
And
Would
they're
you
all-
rather blow it or like,
Yeah.
yeah. Or anal entry.
They're all kind of sex-related questions.
Yeah, they all are.
Yeah.
They're
But
anal entry is my favorite. I'm going to refer to it as that exclusively from here on out.
it was a pretty funny scene.
It was great.
And the fact that they just improv that was pretty amazing.
It was honestly like one of the best character moments too, because they just seemed genuinely
They were
like
real.
friends. Yeah,
They were real friends. Yeah. This was actually one of 3 horror films from 1986 that takes place on April Fool's Day. The others being Killer Party and then Slaughter High.
That movie.
Oh my God.
Have you seen that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That movie features one penis extra than I thought I was going to see. I was not prepared for the dong in that movie.
No. Maybe next April Fool's Day we'll do that one.
That one's kind of sad though.
It is.
I don't
it is.
that one wasn't very fun.
This film actually had an even longer, more bizarre ending in the original script. After Muffy reveals the whole weekend was a setup, all the guests leave except for Rob, Kit, Chaz, and Nikki, who sneak back in the house to prank Muffy for revenge. And but when they return, Skip actually just totally cracks and goes nuts and attempts to kill Muffy in a jealous rage. And Rob jumps in and saves Muffy and kills Skip in the process.
What the fuck?
They actually filmed the ending, but it didn't make the final cut because the studio wanted a more upbeat conclusion. But if you read the book, because there's a book,
There's a novelization of it. Nice.
If you want the full thing, you can grab the novel and read it because that's what the movie was supposed to be.
Like that. I wish they would have gone with that.
Yeah, I do too. That would have given it, I mean, more of a horror,
right?
Type thing, obviously. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know. Again, this was an early film for me in my teenage years, early teens. Might not even been a teenager when I think I was. Yeah, I would have been, but barely. And so it's got a special place in my heart.
For sure.
I mean, I give it 4 stars. And I think a lot of that is just sentimental reasons because
sure.
if I look at it objectively, set my emotions aside, there are problems with it.
Right.
Obviously the way they end it with everything's a prank and nobody dies. It's clever,
right.
But it for a lot of people, and for you, obviously, it really took away everything else that was in the movie. For me, it wasn't as big of a deal, and not that you didn't enjoy some of the things.
Right.
Some
No,
of the
I
tension.
love the masturbating chairs. That was a peak for me. But no, it's just like for me, whenever that is the twist, it then makes me feel like, so what was the point?
Right.
Like,
right.
What are we doing here? Like, why did we do this to why did I do this to myself?
Sure. So you give it how many stars?
I gave it 2 stars.
You gave it 2 stars.
Because I couldn't, even though the ending, I hated it, there was enough enjoyment along the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yep. Well, there it is. April Fool's Day from 1986. It has become kind of a cult classic over the years. And we did try to get Deborah Foreman. We're Instagram buddies, and she didn't get back to me, but I'm sure she's got a million people trying to vie for her time. She does do a lot of interviews about the film, and she had a good time doing it. And she was actually... she came in for the audition, didn't do well the first time, but they called her back for another audition. And the second time, she just blew away the director.
Nice.
Fred Walton was like, that's her. That's totally our Muffy
That's
slash
our
Buffy.
Muffy.
That's our Muffy Buffy.
That's our Muff Diver.
That's our Muff Diver. Yeah, absolutely. And then the rest of the cast kind of fell into place. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I mean, it is kind of a fun watch, but just realize there's things that happen at the end that you're like, you might scratch your head and go, well, huh.
I mean, I definitely think it's worth watching, especially, right now, this time of year. I think it's
Yeah, of
perfect
course.
for that.
Sure,
Like, it's
sure.
even if it's not like my favorite movie, I still am glad that I watched it.
There was a 2008. It was a loose remake of it. The concept was kind of the same, but it was I think it was like in downtown Beverly Hills or something in a mansion.
Oh, weird.
And yeah, it wasn't an island setting. I would consider it to be probably more pure horror than, from what I remember, the kills were actually real.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed this one more. Just, for whatever.
Yeah, I probably do want to at least check that remake out.
Yeah, I recommend it. I mean, it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
Just wasn't my favorite movie.
Right.
So. Coming up, scare preview time. It is the Opening Kill podcast.
Welcome to Jaunty Haunts, the podcast about all things supernatural. After 30 years of keeping a secret, I'm finally ready to share with the world that I see ghosts. This podcast is all about getting spooky and connecting with others who might also sense, see, or feel things beyond the ordinary. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, let's connect, share, and maybe feel a little less crazy together.
You can listen to and binge Jaunty Haunts right now on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you podcast. Stay spooky, ghoul friends.
All right, scare preview time. There's a movie coming out later this year, directed by Corin Hardy, who did The Hallow and also The Nun in 2018. The movie is called Whistle. It's about a misfit group of unwitting high school students that stumble upon a cursed object, an ancient Aztec death whistle. They discover that blowing the whistle and the terrifying sound it emits will summon their future deaths to come and hunt them down.
Okay.
No specific release date is set yet, but it is scheduled for this year. So looks pretty good at this point.
Nice. No, that sounds interesting. Mine is Together. Now, this is already premiered at some film festival and has gotten just rave reviews.
Oh,
It's
nice.
Together, and it's from director Michael Shanks. And if you've never heard of him, it's because this is his directorial debut.
Perfect. It better be good then,
Right? You better start off on the right foot.
or you'll never direct again in this town.
Never.
No.
And it's starring real-life couple Dave Franco and Allison Brie. It is a body horror movie, and the premise is a couple moves to the countryside, and it triggers a supernatural incident that drastically alters their relationship, existence, and physical form. I have seen the trailer to this, and it looks fucking insane.
Right on.
And I'm a big Dave Franco fan. I know
Yeah.
that, I don't know why, but everything he's in, I thoroughly enjoy.
Well, and you and I are both not huge body horror
No.
fans, but this kind of sounds intriguing.
It looks weird. Have you seen the trailer yet?
I haven't seen the trailer yet. I need to check it out.
It's a little trippy.
Okay. All right. Well, coming up next week, we have an incredible film. Well, I hope it's
With hope.
incredible. We have not seen this yet because it has not been released. It comes out tonight, actually, on this Thursday. It is the new Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd film, Death of a Unicorn. And you and I, along with producer Jillian, researcher Danielle, Shay is actually flying into town to spend some time with us. Not this week, but next week.
Nice.
But she's not going to be here in time for this. But the four of us are going to go see Death of a Unicorn tonight.
Hell yeah.
And so next Thursday's episode will be Death of a Unicorn.
Yeah, so go watch it.
Oh, yeah,
So
go
you
watch
can
it. It's
participate.
I remember when we announced that this was a scare preview. Jillian, actually, she was like, "Oh my God, you have to do it on the show, and I have to be on the podcast."
Nice.
So yeah, so Jillian will be making her. I mean, she's been with us in the background, but she's actually going to make her debut on the cast.
Ooh, don't
Do
fuck
this.
up.
I know. Don't screw up. Don't
Or we'll
screw
kick
up.
you off.
And I think Shay will actually be here as well. And Daniel, I mean, all of us are going to be in the same room for this, so should be a
Nice.
lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one.
So subscribe and like, and also email us.
Yeah, you can email us if you have a question, comment, concern. Just
Concern?
Yeah, you want to fill out a complaint form? That's fine. Email us at openingkillpod@gmail.com.
I mean, if you do fill out a complaint form, it'll be filed appropriately.
I'm gonna delete it
because we don't
immediately.
give a shit. If you don't like us, don't listen. I mean, that's just kind of it. I mean, don't complain because we're not going to change anything.
Yeah, and that involves me reading extra, and I'm just not going to do that.
You don't want to put that much effort into
No.
it. I don't blame you. All
No,
right.
thank you.
All right, that wraps it up for April Fool's Day. Thank you so much. Join us again next Thursday for the new movie Death of a Unicorn, and hopefully it's really good and we can report good things.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't suck.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
The Opening Kill podcast is hosted by Michael Duran and Brian O'Connor. It's produced by Mystic Cloud Productions. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram too. Join us next Thursday for a brand new episode.